I'm Emily Haight. I am the chairperson and I am calling the meeting to order.
Okay, Amanda Scales, and I'm gonna do the roll call. Matthew Baudet, Billy Cashman,
Here.
Maureen George,
Here.
Catherine Whitaker Gomez. Not here.
She is not participating tonight because today was her due date, but she had a baby a few days ago. So she is hanging out with her baby Lucy today.
Daniel Law,
Here.
Ann Locken,
Here.
Emily Haight,
Here,
Laura Simmons,
Here.
Anna Scales, that's me. Brian Tennyson. Brian Tennyson. There he is. I see you, Brian Tennyson.
Here, sorry,
Okay.
settings.
Denixa Velez,
here,
Benjamin Wong,
Here.
Patricia O'Keefe.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
great. Next on the agenda is to approve the agenda. I motion to approve tonight's agenda. Emily Haight motions to approve tonight's agenda. We are going to try to say our names just because there's so many faces on the Zoom call. So when the LSC is speaking, we're going
Emily, Matt's having trouble logging in.
Okay. Do you want to text him the account, the link again?
I don't know if I could text it, but I could forward the email
Okay, I can
unless someone could text it.
probably text it. Anyway, I motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Ben Wong seconds the motion.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry. Let's do this. All in favor of approving tonight's agenda?
Aye.
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 Hi.
Anyone against? Anyone abstain? All right, so moved. All right, I'm going to take a second to text Matt the link. Hold on. Katie, I see that you're on here. Can you help your dad?
Sorry, I was getting something.
All right. And this is the joy of technical meetings. Thanks. Patricia, is that someone in your house doing dishes?
That would be me. I can mute myself.
Okay. Thank you. It's not a problem now, but it might be a little distracting when people start talking. All right, I have texted Matt.
I also emailed it to him.
Okay. let's move on the agenda. Next on the agenda is to approve, oh, yeah, Anna sent out the minutes from our meeting on July 14th. So congratulations, Anna, on completing your first set of minutes as
Nice
the new
job.
I motion to approve those minutes.
I second the motion.
Who
That
seconded?
was Maureen.
Maureen George.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain?
I will abstain, Laura Simon, since I was not at the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. But it is so moved. Thank you. So welcome everyone to this meeting tonight. It's probably going to be a long one. We are getting ready to do our public participation. Typically, if we were not in pandemic times, we would be in the auditorium or room 113, and we would have people sign up to participate in the public participation. And I would have had people say whether they are a student or faculty or staff, a parent, community, or alumni. But since we are not in normal times, and we are doing this via Zoom, we are going to have people raise their hands to participate. Each participant will get up to 2 minutes to state what they want to say about whether we should keep or remove the lane tech symbol of an Indian. And just so people know, we'll get into it later. We did do a questionnaire where we had over 9,000 people respond to it. And we created an email for the SRO and received over 250 emails in that. And all of those emails were read by everyone on the LSC board. So because of time limitations, I mean, right now we have about 100 people on the call. If you have written to either myself or Mr. Tennyson or to the Lane Tech symbol, I'm asking that you wait a little bit to raise your hand so other voices that we have not heard get a chance to be heard. And I'm also asking, because this is unusual circumstances, if we, for instance, hear from 8 students in a row, I'm going to ask that the students unraise their hands so we can hear from parents and alumni and community, just to try to, I want to make sure that we can hear from all the stakeholders. Obviously, this is an honor system. And I also want to say that when you are given 2 minutes, this is not like, you can't give your 2 minutes to someone else to speak. We're just keeping it as simple as possible here. Laura Simons is our vice chair, and she is going to be keeping track of people raising their hands. And she will unmute you when it is time. And then Anne Loken, who is our former secretary, will be the official timekeeper, and she will have signs. Is it yellow? Okay, yellow for 30 seconds and red for when your time is up. So there's a little visual so you know how much time there is. And then Maureen George will be muting you when your time is up, and Laura will go on and call the next person, just so we can try to get, we're limiting public participation to an hour. So this way we can get as many participants as possible.
Excuse me, Emily, how do we raise our hand?
And I don't know how you're unmuted. There is on the bottom of your screen. Oh, I don't know for telephone calls how you do that.
Hi, if you're on, sorry, I know I'm not supposed to be unmuted.
Pardon me? Who is that?
Agnes Cook, I was trying to explain how someone can raise their hand, but if someone else knows how to do that that's on the board, go ahead.
Yeah, well, and so I thought I had it where everyone was muted and we were going to be unmuting you. So okay, thank you.
It's fixed now, Emily.
Yes, thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
But let's see. If you are on a phone and you want to speak, Agnes, I'm going to unmute you and ask you how to do that.
Thank you. So if you're on your phone, you should have at the bottom, mute, start video, share, participant. If you go to participant, it'll list all the participants that are on the call. And then there's a hand symbol that says raise hand.
Right, but
And then
I think the question is if people are just calling in and aren't on the Zoom app.
Right. So I'm on the Zoom app on my phone.
Okay.
It's the same. So it's the same thing.
Okay.
So you'd have to go to the participant list. And then on that list, it shows you there's 99 people. And then you click raise hand. And then, once you raise your hand, then you'll get unmuted. And then when you're done from that participant list, click on the close, that window closes.
Hey, Agnes, I think she's want to get clarification. How can someone raise their hand when they're on a landline? They don't have the app on their smartphone.
According to Zoom's instructions, it's *9.
Okay.
Thank you.
*9. Okay, so still haven't heard from Matt, but so I actually, just a little introduction too about why we are here, because a lot of people have asked that on the numerous emails that we've seen or on the questionnaire. I've been a parent going on my 8th year at Lane Tech, and during Quick Start, I was volunteering in the school store. So before school even started, and within that first month, I had people asking me why we were the Indians. Could we get gear that didn't say Indian? And I said, well, we've been around for 100 years. We've always been the Indians, but we're here to raise money for the schools. So the school store eventually started carrying things that didn't have the name or symbol on the wear. If people didn't want to wear the Indian, just like we have things that are in black and gray and white, because not everyone features really well in myrtle and gold. And the school store was just trying to raise money. But so it's been a conversation that I've heard in the hallways from parents, from students for my almost 8 years at the school. And then this spring, talk about it came up a little bit more. And then in June, the administration, myself, a lot of the LSC started getting a lot of emails about this, Principal Tennyson reached out to the equity office. We always assumed that it was a downtown issue. It wasn't something that the LSC was in charge of. And the equity office asked us to do a questionnaire, especially listen to the current families, have an open meeting to kind of get a pulse on what people are thinking. So we proceeded in doing that, and tonight is this public forum. But then the downtown LSC office contacted us last week to tell us that our vote is not binding. So we're going through this process. We will vote tonight, but our vote is not a binding vote. It is just a recommendation of action. But that is why we're here, and that is how we will proceed. So now if you would like to participate, please raise your hand and Laura will call on you.
Okay, Raymond, you have first, you have your 2 minutes. Ann, ready when you are?
Yes, Ray Roshman, Lane Tech 60. I would like to see the Lane Tech High School Local School Council retain the Indian heritage of Lane Tech. The Indian has always been represented with dignity and honor. No chants, no use of the word tribe, no characterizations, no cartoons. It's not used on uniforms. The Indian is represented within the school and has been for years. Shooting for the Stars, auditorium fire screen, murals, foundry design projects, and the Arrowhead Annual. The Indian character is revered and respected by the alumni, viewed as a warrior and striver. Please do not allow the condemnation of this positive Lane Tech heritage for the satisfaction of revisionist historical feelings, which have never been reflected in any way by past actions on the part of students, faculty, or alumni. I believe there is an educational alternative that addresses the issues without sacrificing the values intrinsic in the symbol. That is, amend the motion to retain the present usage of the symbol, that is, retain it, and plan to establish course requirements that teach the history without sacrificing the past values of the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. I will now unmute Derek.
Hello, I'm Menominee in Santo Domingo, Pueblo. I'm an incoming freshman at Lane Tech, and I would like to see the mascot not be retained. My reason being is that I don't believe that our culture and our heritage is for the well-being of your history. I feel like it should be used for our history. I feel like this mascot is hindering our history from being known by the common person. The common people, they don't know that we even exist. They believe that we exist through the mascots such as the Lane Tech Indians. So by this mascot being changed, you would be helping my people get our history and our culture out into a way that we feel fit. This obviously isn't the way that we feel fit, and I hope that you listen to us about using our culture for your mascot and for your school pride.
Thank you, Derek. Jim Coletis, I will be unmuting you now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. First, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak at this meeting. And just so that, like my dad used to say, we're all singing from the same hymn book. We're not talking about a mascot. As far as I know, Lane has never had someone dressed up in a costume running around at school functions, degrading the image of an Indian. We're talking about the symbol of an Indian. You know, the imposing Native American figure, which was painted on the steel fire curtain of the Lane Auditorium by the artist John Wiley, is called the Lean Indian, and was first of many artworks. It was inspired by the sculptor Laurando Tate's colossal statue of Black Hawk in Oregon, Illinois. Now, the composition also includes symbols and patterns used by the Crow Indians. These symbols describe the journey of the student through Lane as he develops, and I quote, wisdom and a watchful eye, and eventually embarks on another path to reap the harvest and plenty of life. The symbol of the Lane Indian showed and continues to show us a culture that enhances a sense of purpose, traditional values, character, stability, and resistance. It says you can succeed no matter what your background. You can do hard things, overcome obstacles, achieve happiness, and be successful. That we can believe in ourselves and face the challenges that come our way with strength, confidence, and courage. It also includes accepting the problems we encounter and finding proper solutions that will benefit the majority in order to be a servant for future generations. American Indians today represent the most culturally diverse of the ethnic groups in the United States. Historically, American Indians developed
Thank you,
societies
Jim, for
with
your
well-defined.
time. Thank you, Jim, for your time. I will now be unmuting John Byrne.
Thank you for holding this Zoom meeting. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I am a proud Lane graduate, class of 1971, and I am in favor of the removal of the Indian as a symbol of my alma mater, Lane Tech.
Maurice W. Sweeney, I'm not sure, Chief Equity Officer. So now going on to the next part of the agenda is our new business. And Ben Wong will talk about the Symbol Action Committee questionnaire.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you for everyone who participated in the public participation period. Your thoughts are greatly valued, and we really appreciate this discussion. As Emily mentioned earlier, the LSC put out a questionnaire and was out for 2 weeks. I'm going to pull it up and share my screen with you. 5,444 alumni, or 60% of it, the alumni favored to continue the symbol. We have a spreadsheet over here that breaks everything down too as well. So out of the 5,444 alumni who participated in the questionnaire, 3,279 participants want to continue it. Now, there was 40% that was there was a support in favor of continuing that was strongest among the older alumni and weakened with each passing decade. If you look over here in the green section, the 1940s, there's 95% was in favor of continuing, 91% from the 50s, 87% in the 60s, 84% in the 70s, 79% in the 80s, 59% in the 90s, 49% in the 2000s, 23% in the teens.
Matt, you're
out of the respondents from the combined students, faculty, staff, parents, guardians, and community member constituencies, 71% are in favor of discontinuing the symbol. That's 2,629 out of the 3,691 respondents. And the responses from the current students, the staff, 60% of the parents and guardians, and 84% of the community members were in favor of discontinuing the symbol. And the overall response of our respective LSC constituencies were overwhelmingly at a rate of 71%. And as part of the process, we had over 270 emails that were sent to us. And in gathering information prior to this meeting, we reached out to several Native American groups for their feedback. And the following groups provided a written statement on the organization's letterhead, all opposing the use of the Indian moniker: the Native American Rights Fund, the American Indian Center, the National Congress of American Indians, and St. Kateri Center of Chicago, which is the Native American Ministry of the St. Benedict Parish. One organization also reached out to us, offering their assistance to help us keep the Indian. That is the Native American Guardian Association. We heard from several individual Native Americans who are students, some of which spoke today, alumni, and CPS employees who have all asked for the removal of the name. Does anyone want to see a particular slide that I had set up earlier? So again, this is the breakdown of the decades. And this section here is in favor of continuing. This one is in favor of discontinuing. And this is the total number of votes from those decades from the alumni group. And there was a trend, in short, that the older alumni obviously wanted to keep the symbol and the younger generation does not. And here's the breakdown again of the community members, faculty, staff, students, parents, and guardians.
I would just like to add that the Symbol Action Committee is a parent, but it's still a very important vote. Does anyone on the LSC want to have discussion or make a motion?
I think Matt is here. I could see his, Matt.
What?
are you here? Matt Baudet, I think he's here.
Yeah, he is.
All right.
All right, well, I will make a motion then. And then Anna, we are going to do a roll call vote on this. And as members of the LSC, we all are allowed to also give our point of view. We do not have the specific time limit of 2 minutes, but I would encourage all of us to realize that this meeting's gone on for an hour and a half already. So as we're voting, and as our name is called, if you want to make a statement, please feel free to. If you just want to vote, that is fine also. But I, Emily Haight, vote to continue. No, I know, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I motion to continue the Indian mascot.
I second the motion.
That was Maureen George.
Maureen George.
Okay. So Anna, would you do the roll call vote, please?
Okay, so I will start with Matt Baudet.
Did you say continue or discontinue?
I said continue.
Continue?
Yes.
No.
And do you want to make your statement?
I'll just briefly touch on what some of the other folks have said. You know, I too went to Weber High School, which was a Indian mascot. I never felt comfortable there either myself back in the 80s. So this is not a reflection of the new generation. Just historically, Native mascots started at the end of the century. And a lot of things happened to Native Indigenous people at the time. The wars were over. The allotment acts were coming in, taking away what little reservation land was still there. And in doing so, conveniently allowed the government to declare that our governments were extinct. And if our governments were extinct, then therefore we were extinct. Our children were being sent off to boarding schools like others people mentioned. And we started being commemorated in different ways, like the Indian head and buffalo nickel, which shows that, you know, these are two conquered parts of America. And with the people being fully conquered, marginalized, civilized, disenfranchised, whatever, from coast to coast, indigenous symbols became open for appropriation. And the use of indigenous names and symbols, they don't honor the past. Rather they absolve the past and rewrite the past under the myth that the land and American culture were inherited from a noble, brave warrior race, nature-loving people that have passed into history and now deserve to be remembered by the new Americans. It doesn't educate anybody about anything. You know, all it is a reinforcement of manifest destiny, as others would say. And people keep saying, you know, well, we're honoring people that used to be here or that were here. And if we don't, they're going to be forgotten. So speaking about indigenous people in the past tense and only portraying them in past denies the existence of indigenous people living amongst you today. So please don't confuse removing a symbol with removing an entire peoples. If you want to learn about any diverse cultures or tribes, just ask us because we're still here. Others mentioned that this has support of other marginalized groups. The National Organization of Women, NAACP, UNIDOS US, US Conference of Rabbis, they've all come out against this because they realize what it is to be marginalized too. And I do go back to saying that no means no. It's part of our vocabulary. So if indigenous people say we're not honored by this, and groups like the American Psychological Association, National Education Association, Commission on Human Rights, and numerous universities say that it's harmful, So when Indigenous people say stop and no, please stop, even if your intentions are well intended. Yeah, I appreciate that some of the people that have responded have said they'd like to hear from the Native Indigenous folks, and I think you've heard from that. You've heard from the National Congress of American Indians, the Native Rights Fund, the American Indian Association of Illinois, St. Catherine's down by St. Ben's, Chi Youth Nations. And I think people are sincere in their belief that this may honor Indigenous people, but I don't think they're fully aware of the roots of where this comes from. And it lies in manifest destiny or the stereotypes that it causes. And I appreciate people think that Indigenous people are different and special, but the fact is we're no more different and we're no more special than you. We're not endowed by any supernatural senses or abilities. We're not the ideal race. You know, and if you want to keep shooting for the stars, shoot for the stars, because that's not an Indigenous thing. It shouldn't be just related to a statute. You know, Indigenous people didn't shoot at stars. It just wasn't something that was done. It's not political correctness. It's not rewriting history. It's about allowing Indigenous people to be contemporary people, your coworkers, your neighbors, and your friends, just like you. No better, no worse. I would like to just say I am proud of the current students and young adults at Lane. They're amazing. I feel they're stronger than I am. They're stronger than my generation because they actually have the courage to speak up and take action to build a better and more inclusive world for themselves. So that's all I would add. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Anna?
Oh, sorry. William Cashman.
Hello, can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So I have, pondered this for a long time as a student of Lane Tech, as the student representative. And through my experience at Lane, it seems to me, and it seems through the data that we've collected, that the overwhelming majority of the student body is in favor of discontinuing the mascot. I personally believe it's not a white person's place to tell an Indigenous person what is and is not insulting, because if our society progressed based on what white people believed was insulting, or where would we be today? We would be a much more hateful society, just in general. And a point was brought up earlier that I found really compelling. What if we had, what if our symbol was someone of another race? How would we feel about that? Obviously, if our symbol was an African-American person, I feel like, there would be outrage. And I totally understand that. And I agree that having a Native American is no different. And that, as a student rep, my job is to represent the will of the student body, and overall, the student body is in favor of discontinuing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anna, you can keep on going.
Oh, sorry. Maureen George.
Hello. I'm not a Lane alum, but when I walked into the halls of Lane 11 years ago, I immediately fell in love with the history within those walls. The trophies, the plaques from 1938, the artwork, the statues. When I took over the store in 2012, I used the Indian symbol on as much gear as I could, because to me, that symbol displayed strength, pride, and tradition. I reveled with the alumni when they came in during the reunions. They would come into the store and share their stories. Their passion was just palpable. Alumni, your passion is for Lane, your experiences at Lane, the connections you made at Lane. All this is priceless and irreplaceable. You are so proud of the Lane motto, which is wherever you go, whatever you do, always remember the honor of Lane. Honor means respect and doing what is right. Lane strives to teach and display empathy, kindness, and respect. The right thing to do is to change this symbol. I want to end with what my daughter told me. She's an alum of class of 2013. And when she made this statement, it really hit home for me. She said, "Mom, a school would never call themselves the Whites." I vote to change the symbol.
Daniel Law.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yep.
I think so. All right. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Daniel Law. I'm a teacher and I represent the teacher vote, I guess. I just finished my 17th year at Lane Tech. Thank you, alums, for coming out to speak so passionately about what you believe in. Students, current students who came out to talk, I got to say I was really impressed. You all were much more eloquent and coherent than I would have been when I was in high school. And I went to Whitney Young. It's not a dig at Whitney Young, I'm just saying. I just dig at myself. I don't really have a statement to make, except to say that I definitely and wholeheartedly want to discontinue using our current symbol.
Emily Haight.
I want to thank everyone who has been a part of this process. And I want to thank the rest of the LSC. We have spent an enormous amount of time on this when I wish we could be spending time on figuring out how school is going to look in the fall and how we can deal with this pandemic instead of talking about this, but here we are. I also feel the need to address, which people have told me not to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. A lot of us have been personally attacked about this, and I have been asked to recuse myself. Matt has been asked to recuse himself. Then all of the parents were asked to recuse themselves from this vote. And the then we wouldn't have a quorum and it wouldn't be a vote. And a lot of people, I am an adult. I can handle the attacks. My daughter and a group of passionate alumni also were working, or separately were working on the symbol change. And as a parent, you can say whatever you want to say about me, but when you talk about my child, that's when my claws go out. And for those of you who have teenagers, the way that I parent is I encourage my children to be strong, opinionated, free-thinking individuals, and I encourage them to follow their beliefs and fight for what they believe in. But I am also a parent. I am very capable of separating my beliefs from my daughter's beliefs. I am not going to ask my children to not do something because it makes my life easier. So when she was quoted in the paper and people were very upset with me, but I am an adult. I am an elected official from the Lane Tech community. I'm here to represent the community. I'm here to represent the parents and the students. And I take that very seriously. I have been the chairperson on this. I'm going on my 5th year of being the chairperson on this LSC. I've been on other LSCs, and I am fully capable of looking at data, listening to people, and making my own decision, and not basing it on what my child wants. I have no problem saying no to my children. You can ask them that. But that being said, I have listened, and I also strongly believe that having the name of an Indian is disrespectful on so many levels, and it is harmful. And I vote no. I do not want to continue having the Indian as the symbol for Lane Tech.
Thank you. And Locken?
Yep, thank you. As a parent representative, I am also voting no, meaning I want to discontinue the Lane Tech Indian symbol. I think this is the decision that's consistent with the opinion of the vast majority of current parents, students, faculty, and staff. And it's also, and perhaps most importantly, the overwhelming opinion of Indigenous voices that we've heard here today and who have shared emails and letters with us throughout this process. Lane is an amazing school, not because of the Indian symbol, but because of its intelligent and talented students, teachers, faculty, staff, and alumni. And so I thank you everyone for who attended today and for speaking, and for those who sent emails. Thank you.
Patricia O'Keefe. Patricia O'Keefe.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I vote no to continuing the Indian symbol. And I think it's time for Lane. Lane has been able to evolve with the times. I have 3 kids who, one graduated, 2 are currently at Lane. And, you know, my daughter wouldn't be there if Lane didn't keep up with the times for for letting women in. And excuse me, also it's also evolved from, it's still a technical school. Yes, it is. It's a technical school, and we have evolved with today's technology. We have a computer science program that is more in depth than many colleges. We have an aquaponics lab. So I think, as much as, you know, in each graduating class from Lane has such pride and such a strong tradition, and I just don't see that changing a symbol that is overwhelmingly viewed as disrespectful to the people that it's trying to portray is going to change any of that tradition. So I vote no to continuing the symbol. Thank you.
Laura Simon.
I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who took the time to answer the survey and send in, I think, upwards of 300 emails. I did read all of them over the course of this past week. And I also just want to say, I so appreciate the pride and the passion that the alumni have for Lane. It is amazing. I do not feel that way about my high school. My college, yes. My high school, no. And I appreciate your commitment to the school, and I hope that that commitment will remain. Students, I want to thank you for being involved in this process, even though you have not been allowed in your school in months. Thank you for taking the time to fill out the survey and to email and join us on this call. I vote no to continuing the mascot, and that is my answer. Thank you.
Brian Tennyson.
First, I would like to thank the LSC for conducting this. And you know, there's moments when I'm reminded exactly why it is that I've chosen to be a principal and to have spent so many years in education. And that is when we listen to our students and we listen truly to what they're asking us. It is very clear what the Indigenous population has been saying, is very clear what our students have been saying. I take great pride in supporting them and voting no to continuing the symbol.
Sorry, it's supposed to be me next. So I really thought about this and I wrote a couple of things. So Lane is a school of champions. Why not bridge the divide between generations? Learn what is honorable. A committee of alums, students, teachers, an LSC member should work together to educate, explore ways to support the Indigenous people. Reach out to the National Association of Indian Education to start. Why not champion this before CPS, who actually threw this as a curveball at us, and it will ultimately be the decision. Our legislators who are sitting on the House Bill 4783, and the institutions who have yet to address this. Indigenous peoples are forever to be honored. I believe racism in America's core began because of how they were treated. Maybe collectively we can define what is symbolic to Lane. I was amazed by the ferociousness of the alumni. Their honor are uniquely your own. Somewhere along the line, the honor embraced is not recognized, that I saw by the children. They need to establish their own definition of honor. And I was amazed by the younger generation. Live streaming touched the souls where history tried to teach in classroom. They have conducted extensive research with students, citing historical documents. Sorry, I get really nervous. So after much thought, and you know, so much has changed with Lane. The name has changed, girls coming in, the removal of the shops, and in a way, I think that we're going to go back to that because things are changing also. But in regards to the name Indian, I can't even say that. I mean, I said it, but Indigenous is the proper word. They were here first, and I vote to change. The Nix of Velez.
I vote to discontinue the mascot.
Thank you. Benjamin Wong.
Thank you, Anna. My name is Ben Wong, and I am a Lane Tech alumnus who has very fond memories of my time at Lane. I graduated from Lane Tech in 1992. I was a senior class secretary, senior prom co-chair, and I was also on the wrestling team that helped win many city championships. And I was even on the cheerleading squad, cheering on our other teams to victory. I met my beautiful wife here, and we have 4 wonderful children, 3 of whom already have Lane Tech connections. One son graduated in 2019. Another son is a rising senior. I have an incoming freshman daughter, and hopefully, fingers crossed, one more son will attend in a few years. Needless to say, I bleed myrtle and gold, and I feel like I carry the weight of the entire Lane Tech alumni base. I do not take this issue lightly. I have friends who feel very strongly on both sides of the issue and have seen friendships already fractured because of this. I, like many other alumni, proudly wore the Indian symbol with honor. Lane Tech has a strong and rich history that deeply touched many lives, and it has been expressed through the many emails we have received and the voices we heard today. With that said, after taking some time to learn more about this issue, it is my view that the Indian symbol does not honor Native Americans as much as it creates a caricature of them. Not all American Indian people live on reservations, wear war bonnets, and ride horses. And it perpetuates a negative stereotype, and using a human being as a symbol is dehumanizing. Indian mascots were commonly used during a time when racism were generally accepted. Native Americans have experienced more than their fair share of violence throughout its history, and our society just will simply not tolerate it any longer. Simply put, if Native American Indians, the people we are using as a symbol of our school, do not want us to use it, then that should be enough. We have heard from the Native American Rights Fund, the American Indian Center, and the National Congress of American Indians, who all oppose the Indian symbol. However, one email resonates with me. A CPS parent, Kate DeCarlo Santiago, she says, I'm a white mother of 2 Indigenous daughters. At my daughter's school this past year, they decided to have a sports-themed Spirit Day where everyone came to school wearing their favorite team's gear. I cannot describe the pain and distress my 6-year-old daughter experienced when she saw friends and teachers wearing Blackhawks gear. She asked me why someone would wear a logo that was mean to her. She said that culture should not be mascots, and why didn't people understand that? It was an extraordinarily difficult day for her to see her culture, which she identifies with positivity and strongly depicted as a mascot for sports team, literally a disembodied head, only caused her pain. There was no honoring or respect. She felt betrayed by educators and friends that she thought she could trust. Thank you for sharing that with us, Kate Santiago. Now, having a different symbol does not take away the experiences that the alumni had. Having a different symbol does not change how great of a school Lane Tech is and will continue to be. We have to be on the right side of history here, and I vote to change the symbol. Thank you.
We have one member that's not here, so I move the floor to you, Emily.
Pardon me?
I move it to you, Emily.
Okay. So my motion did not pass unanimously. The LSC has decided to not continue the symbol of an Indian. As I've said before, this is not a binding vote. We will let the equity office and our network know. And then we were told it was an administrative vote, but they didn't tell us exactly who the administrative people were that are voting on it. And as was mentioned in the letter from the equity office, well, there's a lot of steps now. So we will have to come up with a, once downtown or once the decision is official, that we're no longer the Lane Tech Indians, that I presume they will have us, as talked about in the letter from the equity office, that we will have to form another committee and look into how we go about, they said their terminology was to launch a co-design process to identify a new symbol. So that will be our next steps once we are told that that is what we should do. And next week, we are voting on our SROs in the school, and we also have a lot going on. The administration has a lot going on right now with how it's going to look to actually get back into school, which is the education of our students really ought to be the top priority. for us. Mr. Tennyson, is there anything else you want to add to the next steps?
No, I will reach out to Equity Office and Network and confirm the official steps and express the will of the LSC.
Okay, thank you. So the announcements. So our next special meeting is next Monday at 6:30. I will I'll get the agenda out for that and create the Zoom link and get that'll be posted as always on the school door and on the LSC Facebook page. I guess another announcement, again, congratulations to Miss Whitaker Gomez, who is our other parent or our other teacher rep. She just had a beautiful baby girl. So she's on maternity leave right now. And that's all the announcements I have. Anyone else? All right, thank you everyone for your participation in this process. Clearly the process is not over. We have to go on to the next steps, but one part of the process is down. I motion, it is 8:37. I motion to adjourn the meeting.
And Locken will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? So moved. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Good night.